Welcome to my channel. This is the Diamond Chrysalis, aka Divested Diamonds. This is divestment with purpose, and you have arrived. Greetings and salutations, ladies. Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for being here today. Please do me a favor and click the like button as you watch this video. Thank you kindly. In today's premiere, we're going to be exploring, or rather discussing, why men will never understand women and why some women put up with shit just to keep a man around. I'll be doing commentary on quite a few videos based on what seems to be a regular but problematic occurrence for a lot of women today. We will talk about the ever-evolving relationships between men and women and why we as women must stop buying into male manipulation. But first, ladies, we need to talk. When it comes to how men view women, 9 times out of 10, it's never in a favorable light. When it comes to relationships and marriage, and yes, I know that marriages are relationships too, but you know what I mean. When it comes to relationships and marriage, what you as the woman allow the man to get away with will set the tone on how that individual treats you throughout your relationship. Now, I know that over the years, marriage has been packaged and sold to women as the ultimate goal in life, right? Religion, as well as different cultures, have pedestalized marriage as the be-all and end-all of a woman's existence. Unfortunately, this has left a lot of women feeling inadequate. The indoctrination of the woman's mind by men is something that's been going on, since the beginning of time. Add religion and culture to that, and you have a clusterfuck of audacity. Sure, the concept of marriage, if properly executed, can somewhat be tolerable, wonderful even. However, when men introduced the idea to women, it was more for their own benefit and survival than the enjoyment and comfort of women. Being the needy group of our human species, men felt that they had to create something to keep women busy while manipulating the heck out of us by taking our rights away. The fact is, marriage was not created to benefit women. It was created to keep women silent and in check. It was created to benefit men while hustling women into believing that it was the best thing for them. This hustle forced a lot of women into having low self-esteem, and this coercive mentality benefited men. It was created to benefit men and not women. The following is a perfect example of how deeply indoctrinated some women are into believing that self-sacrifice is their only way to happiness. That self-sacrifice is the gateway to that ring on their finger. But sometimes it does take a while for certain women to realize that the sacrifice isn't worth the blood it's written in. Without further ado, let's take a listen.
Let me show y'all something, world. I just literally proposed. I ain't gonna record you because that's up. Like, I just proposed to my girl.
10 years,
we've been together.
10 years.
Yeah, we've been together for 10 years, and I just proposed to her, and she just sitting here and just looking at the ring. You just sitting here looking at it.
In the car, you ain't put no thought into it. You ain't taking me out to dinner or nothing. No type of little setup, bro.
Why do it? But
Flowers, nothing. Just this ring.
But Crystal,
and then after 10 years.
Crystal,
no.
You said you wanted to be married.
I don't want it.
I went out and bought this
like
ring.
5 years ago. I don't want that shit. Now it take you another 5 years to propose to me. No, I don't want
What you mean? So 10 years? Look, 10 years for me. That tells me if I want to spend the rest of my life with you.
It don't take you 10 years.
People true colors. People true colors don't be coming. Like I got to see your true colors. Yeah. Everybody not the same. Like I don't get it. What you talking about? Like so you really don't want to you don't want to marry me.
I don't want that ring. And you know what? I'm trying to pack my shit because I just.
So you finna break up with me because I got you a ring 10 years later?
What type of thought is this? We in the car.
What you mean we in the car? Like it don't matter where you get proposed to as long as you get proposed to.
I don't want that. Stop recording me.
I'm not gonna stop recording because you're unappreciative and I want to show the world how unappreciative my girl is. Like I don't understand right now. Like you got a whole, like you know how much I spent on this ring and you complain about where I'll propose to you at? That's what you complain about?
In the car. It's no type of thought into it. And then it's been 10 years. I don't want that shit now. It took you 10 years?
Okay, everybody not the same. Maybe it take me 10 years to realize if I want to spend the rest of my life with you.
I don't want it.
That's crazy. Like I don't get you. Like then you talking about you finna leave. Where you finna go?
Yeah.
Where you finna go?
Don't worry about it.
I'm finna worry about it. What you mean? You don't want this ring?
Here's my key.
You don't want this ring?
No, I don't want it.
No, any woman would accept this ring. I'm not gonna stop recording. Stop.
Yeah, let me record because okay, it's nice. The ring is nice. I love it. Okay, but you ain't put no thought until we in the car.
Crystal,
we're in the car.
It don't matter.
Thought into it, and then it's been 10
You're
years.
Ungrateful. Like I don't understand how the ungratefulness.
I'm not ungrateful.
You are ungrateful.
I'm not ungrateful.
You are.
Anybody else would have complained too.
You are. Who gonna complain?
Anybody.
I just literally proposed to you in the car, a nice ring, and you complaining.
Yeah,
like,
in the car.
So what if it's in the car?
In the car.
So if it's in the car, it's in the house, a restaurant, like you getting proposed to. Like I don't get it.
I don't want it.
So what you finna do? So you finna leave?
Yes.
Okay, leave. Give me my phone. Go. Bye. Get out the car. Go.
So it took 10 years for this male to propose marriage to this woman? 10 whole years. A decade. It's very clear that she had hinted towards wanting to get married, possibly their entire relationship. But what did he do? Probably dragged his feet. What's the saying again? How does that quote go? Oh yeah, why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free? Ladies, let me tell you something I used to do that I don't do anymore. I used to rationalize other people's actions and thoughts in an attempt to try and make sense out of them. In other words, I used to make excuses for other people's bad behavior because I just couldn't accept that certain people behaved a certain way. Look, I'm very analytical and logical. I always thought that people's actions had rhyme and reason, therefore could be explained away. That was a while ago. I've long since stopped trying to make logic for other people's illogical mess. I came to realize that it wasn't my responsibility to do that. I was enabling these people and basically giving them an out. People's right to audacity is based on what they can or cannot get away with. It's also based on how much disrespect they can get away with. What's the other saying? The other quote? Oh yeah, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Listen, when life isn't going according to plan, at some point, self-reflection becomes very important. Part of a lot of women's delusion is that they think they can change these males. So they compromise, okay? They make concessions. They make the man's life easier, hoping that those actions will later translate into something worthwhile. They feel and think that they are making an investment. Meanwhile, time is passing and waiting for no one. Some women would rather be angry at losing a man than they would be losing time, all the while not realizing that between the two, there's only one that's more important and precious, and that's time. You can always get another man, but once time is lost, you can't get it back. So I'm sure she tried everything in this relationship to try and make it work, but eventually she checked out, emotionally checked out. One thing males don't understand is that once a woman emotionally checks out of a relationship, there's nothing you can do about it. Your relationship is as good as done. But because a lot of men lack emotional intelligence, this concept goes over their heads almost all the time. This guy was certainly not getting it. The disrespectful part was when he said, "Crystal, you said you wanted to get married. I went out and bought the ring," and proceeds to call her ungrateful as if she owed it to him to just say yes because he proposed. Like I said, no emotional intelligence. Furthermore, who proposes to someone while they're driving? Like, who does that? I mean, like she said, there was no thought put into this. He just presented this ring, as someone called it, a Super Bowl ring, right? And thought that she'd be okay with that. Most males think that the only thing that women want is a ring on the finger and marriage. After that, everything should just work itself out. They don't believe in nurturing that relationship even further. It's so mind-boggling, right? How does your own species create a concept that you don't understand? I'll tell you why. Because these fools expect you to do the legwork the rest of the way. And so, I have a question for you males. What happens to uncared for and unwatered plants? Okay, got it? Relationships are the same, dummies. Look, most black males are not known for being romantic anyway, so his attitude wasn't shocking at all. They literally expect a pat on the back for doing the bare minimum. I don't understand how some of these women still have the patience to deal with them. I really don't. But this is black love. And this is also part of the reason the out-of-wedlock birth rate is so high in the so-called community. They don't care for marriage, but will pursue these lengthy relationships expecting marriage treatment. And once you've emotionally checked out and ready to head for the exit, then they show up with a ring to try and keep you around on that relationship plantation. And the only reason they do this is just so they could keep draining your energy. These males are emotional vampires. Who's willing to bet that the only reason he was willing to keep her around was because he was gaining more out of this dead-end relationship than she was? This is what they do. And if black women keep allowing this to happen, you can't complain about being used. You are literally signing up to be a welcome doormat for a home built on sand. Part of this L is yours too, for accepting mediocre treatment and behavior from someone who didn't value you in the first place. Black men are not the only ones available for marriage. So you don't have to go through the grueling process of waiting in vain. There are so many men out there that will marry you simply because they want to and not because they have to. Ladies, say no to the relationship plantation. Don't be a slave to anyone, let alone a mediocre male. When you set the bar this low, you can't blame riffraffs for crashing through the gate. The reason most men are lonely today is because of their own doing. They have burnt their bridges with women. Women are no longer willing to tolerate their shit. I hope this was a great lesson for this young woman. Does anyone know if this was a skit? It seemed pretty real to me. But anyway, self-preservation is the future, ladies. It's the only way forward for us as women. Heck, men do it all the time. They don't have a problem with it. And that's partly because the majority of them are selfish. They pedestalize their needs above all else. They'll even do that over their own children. So let that sink in. You know, time has been a great teacher for a lot of women because what men failed to realize when they created this system was that you can only go so far to keep women in a slumber. As seen in recent times, women are now waking up and opting out of relationships and marriage altogether because the abuses don't match the benefits. Now, I'm not at all saying that every relationship or marriage is bad. I am not saying that. But let's keep it a buck, right? Majority of them are. What we're currently seeing are women embracing their freedom, their careers, and a host of other things by centering themselves while decentering men. Obviously, there are exceptions to this, like the video you just saw. The fact is, there will always be stragglers. We're just going to have to let them fall and rise up on their own. Hopefully, lessons will be learned. If not, oh well. For those of you who don't know what it means to decenter men, it basically refers to women no longer giving men a central or crucial place in their lives and not prioritizing them. In an ideal world, women should have been doing this all along, but society had them in a transit state of mind, busy running around and trying to get chosen in order to fulfill some unattainable fairy tale. Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Once Upon a Time in the Land of Delusion. Oops. Scratch the last one, because that's exactly what happened to women. Oops. But anywho, continuing on, while men have always positioned themselves as the pinnacle of human existence and intelligence, women, on the other hand, have always been perceived as lesser than, even though we're not. Men will use you as a resource, stifle your growth, and use you as an incubator or breeding machine. They have always told us as women what our worth is, based on what they want. Sure, at some point in time, women were reliant upon men for resources because there was no other choice. They created a system where it had to be that way. And now things are shifting, and men are realizing that women would rather live life for themselves on their own terms. And guess who's mad? Yes, that's right. Men are. There's a current scramble by mostly awkward, unchosen, dusty males who are at the bottom to bring back the traditional wife, or TRADWIFE lifestyle, as it's commonly referred to. But here's the thing. Not many women are taking the bait, because we've all seen what happens when men are allowed complete control over women's autonomy, right? I mean, before 1974, banks could refuse women a credit card. The Equal Credit Opportunity Act of 1974 was signed into law to help women get plastic cash. Prior to that, a bank could refuse to issue a credit card to an unmarried woman. And if a woman was married, her husband was required to co-sign. Many banks required single, divorced, or widowed women to bring a man with them to co-sign for a credit card, according to CNN. And some actually discounted the wages of women by as much as 50% when calculating their credit card limits, according to an article from the Smithsonian Magazine. So when some of these men talk about the good old days and how things were so much better back then, They are fantasizing about a time in history when majority of women were miserable, when the only thing they had was the marriage itself and children. Most of those marriages were not healthy at all. It was worse for Black women because not only did they have to put up with dusty behavior, the vast majority had to work, even with a man in the home. So there was no such thing as a quote-unquote soft life for the majority of Black women. Black women have always worked. A lot of women and children endured abuse at the hands of the majority of those men. If you don't believe me, look at the generational trauma that's been passed down to a lot of these people. That should tell you something. And not just that. I found an article on DV in the National Library of Medicine, and the attitudes of these men towards DV and CA were very telling. The male's propensity to be violent towards women while trivializing their pain and suffering is something that happened then and still continues today. During the 1970s, domestic violence remained largely unrecognized and virtually ignored in the legal, medical, and social spheres. Indeed, family violence in general was largely dismissed at this time. For its first 30 years of publication, from 1939 to 1969, for example, the Journal of Marriage and Family did not include, quote-unquote, violence in its index. During the 1960s, scholars and social service providers were only beginning to recognize child abuse, or CA, as a major social problem, while the scholarship and literature on wife abuse, as one researcher later described, was, quote-unquote, virtually non-existent. The little scholarship that did exist on violence against wives, mostly found in journals of psychiatry, was overtly hostile, suggesting that women provoked their own abuse. The same researcher commented that, quote, prevailing attitudes in the 60s, end quote, was that spouse abuse, quote, was rare, and when it did occur, was the product of mental illness or psychological disorder, end quote. In addition, there were no reliable statistics on the rates of incidence of this understudied problem, and no legal or medical protocols of how to effectively respond. Culturally, woman battering was deemed a quote-unquote private matter and one not worth intervening into. Police and medical practitioners alike were reluctant to intervene into quote-unquote private affairs, or what they deemed, quote, matters between husband and wife, end quote. By all accounts, wife abuse was also an accepted custom and often regarded with humor. This was reflected in an early 1970s ad for a Michigan bowling alley, which read, "Have some fun. Beat your wife tonight." The unfortunate thing, as far as battered women were concerned, was that there were very few services available for abused women in crisis. While availability for shelter or temporary housing for those categorized as homeless or displaced was somewhat accessible, an understanding of quote-unquote abused woman as a separate category of person who sought shelter or support services did not yet exist. Battered women found themselves with little to no support and no place to go. In 1973 Los Angeles, for example, homeless shelters provided 1,000 beds for men and only 30 for women. So you see, when it really comes down to it, men stick together and support each other's degeneracy no matter what. Like the TRADWIFE trend currently going on TikTok. Now look, if you are happy pushing out babies, cooking, cleaning and doing everything for your husband, dressed like a 19th century wife, and you find that appealing? Who am I to stop you? I'm all for women doing what makes them happy, but we also need to be open, honest, and careful not to pedestalize regressive, potentially dangerous lifestyles as a modern trend. The pygmies' glorification of such lifestyles lacks historical context. It would be stupid and absolutely naive to not learn from the past.
I'm not gonna lie, don't tell the feminists, but I would rather stay home and cook and clean. I would rather do it. When I tell you I love to cook and clean, just don't tell the feminists. I love to do it, and I love to do it for a man. I do. However, not outside of marriage. Absolutely not. That sounds like hell. But just to see the look on a man's face when you cook him a meal that is so good, you could just tell he's proud. There's just something, I don't know, there's something within me as a woman. Maybe it's almost turning 25 that got me thinking, like, this cooking and cleaning thing isn't bad. Like, I just don't understand why women wanted to work. What was the point? Like, there is nothing satisfying about working. A man that takes care of you, a man that provides for you, you don't have to worry about anything, no bills. I will cook and clean all day. Like, what is the complaint? I'm making some fire food tonight. I'm going to serve it, and I'm just enjoying it. Yes, I'm crying over some onions, but is this what we fought for as women? I don't know. I'd rather cry over some onions than cry about a job, that's for sure. This cooking and cleaning thing isn't bad. Like, I just don't understand why women wanted to work.
Cut this shit out. You are working. This framing that there are women who work and there are women who don't work because men have gifted them the opportunity to stay home and cook and clean for them, you're both working. It is fine to want to stay home and do those things, but that is not a gift of no labor. You are both working, and when you're doing it exclusively in the home, you're working with no rights, no protection, no safety net. You're providing services that if you weren't around, that man would have to pay multiple professionals to get, because it's work, it's valuable work. But your job security in doing that is entirely contingent on that man deciding to keep you around. As your youth and your beauty, two things that are very protective of that job security, to a certain point, start to fade. Just because it feels fulfilling and free to not go to work every day does not mean you are free. All of the comments on this video are like, this is feminism. Making a choice of the life you want to live is feminism. No, feminism is collective liberation for all women. Feminism is women having the resources to not have to depend on men. Feminism is freedom from oppression, and freedom from oppression is having choices. Without money coming in that is yours, if that relationship ends, your job ends. You'll have no money, you'll have no resume, you'll have no references, no roof over your head, no unemployment check, you will have no choices but to find another man to support you. You need to make this man be paying you for the services you're providing as if you had a real job, so that if that marriage ends, you have something to fall back on. Say, if I forgo working outside of the home to stay home and take care of this family, I get this % of everything if we break up. If he says no to some type of agreement like that, then him allowing you to not work is not about letting you have the life that you've always dreamed of. It's about making you dependent on him and exploiting your labor. I'm rewatching Mad Men right now, and I just got to the point where Betty wants to divorce Don because he's been lying and cheating and gaslighting her. And she's been a homemaker for their 2 kids for 10 years. She's also been exploiting the labor of Black women to help her with that, but she has had no work and no money of her own. She goes to a lawyer and she's like, you know, what can I do? And he's like, you should stay married. You'll get no money. He'll probably get the kids because he has all of the resources, and she cannot leave that marriage until she has another man lined up that is willing to fully support her. And she was a rich woman. Her husband was worth millions of dollars, but none of it was hers. And that's the part that you don't see with all these TRADWIFE light videos. It looks lovely and empowering and free to not be some loser feminist who has to go to work until their man changes their mind, or until you change your mind, like, oh my God. And then you will have nothing. He will have all the money you allowed him to make in his career, and he'll get everything he needs from the next woman in line itching to take your place because she was brainwashed by TRADWIFE shit on the internet.
I'm not gonna lie, don't tell the feminists, but I would rather stay home and...
There's not a clue in that head, is there? You can thank feminists for giving you that option, because that was never an option for you. That was the only option for you. Without feminists, you would have no other choice. Feminism doesn't care if you choose to be a stay-at-home mom or choose to go to work. They care about giving you the choice to be able to do that. Men didn't want you to have that choice. So if you're really playing this traditional wife, I'm assuming you don't have your own credit card, right? Because traditional wives couldn't have their own credit card. And I'm sure you didn't go to college. You must not have, you must be very ignorant, because women didn't go to college like that. Very few women did. And don't think you could ever own your own house, because women weren't allowed to do that either. Everything you have, thank feminists for.
I'm not gonna lie, don't tell the feminists, but I would rather stay home and
women like this are endlessly exhausting. Anyway, back to this lady and her lame brainess. First of all, we as a whole are tired of repeating this to you dim-bulb, apron cosplay, TRADWIFE bullshit, that no one gives a fuck. You choose to stay at home. Choose. We like it that you can pick what you want to do. However, choosing to stay at home and raise your children does not make you some sort of person, woman who's liberated and free from the concept of feminism, and it's not needed at all. Like, it doesn't benefit you if you choose to stay at home and care for your children and your husband. Because, like it or not, feminism, like the labor movement, benefits you even if you don't fully partake in the whole working woman aspect. Because before feminism got a real good hold on the law, and not a good enough hold, judging by what's going on in virtually every state, but definitely Alabama and Texas right now, is that you would stay at home with these children for 30 years. Your labor in that home would contribute to your husband's ability to rise up the corporate ladder, because he had someone taking care of the children at home and someone keeping his home, and he didn't have to worry about those things, right? So a woman's labor as a stay-at-home mom furthers the career of her working husband, because he doesn't have to worry about those children and the home. But what would used to happen is, first of all, her name wasn't on the home, right? Except as a survivor, maybe, if she was lucky. She did not have her own bank account. So if that man spent 30 years beating the bricks off her and she finally decided she was going to leave, she couldn't take anything with her, including the children. And if she did take the children, she would get no maintenance or support from a man who has built his life off her labor while beating the bricks off of her. And she didn't even have to be an abused wife. He could just have looked at her one day and decided that she had gotten too fat after having his children and spending time taking care of those children and being a slave to his wants and needs and putting him first in all things. And he could up and leave her, take the house, not pay for a damn thing. She don't have a bank account, can't sign her name to a damn document, can't see the doctor on her own, needs permission to go anywhere. And now he is up and down the street with everything she helped him build with some other woman and the kids, because he's in a better spot than she is, so she loses them in court, because now she's a destitute single mother who has no money to her name and can't even open a bank account. So stay at home if you want to, but if you really want to be a dedicated trad wife, I want you to give up all the other benefits of feminism. All of them. I want you to revel in the fact that your husband has the ultimate legal say-so over top of you, and that you can't get quality health care or any kind of health care if he doesn't sign those little papers saying it's okay. And we still have that issue. We still have doctors who will not perform certain procedures on women until their husbands have agreed, who will go to the husband first and ask, is this okay? Is this something your wife wants? Is she sure she knows what she wants? Can't get a credit card in your name, can't get a bank loan in your name, can't get a mortgage in your name, can't get a checking account, can't go to the grocery store and pull out money on your own. That debit card don't have your name on it, it just has his. You want to do that? I mean, the thing though is I think some of you are dumb enough birdies that you absolutely would do that. You would lean all the way into my man, my household, and I'll do anything for my man, and then be shocked when he up and goes. Because he doesn't see you as a person. He sees you as something he has achieved, like a starter house. You are a starter wife, and he is not invested in you. Any man who would watch you put yourself all the way on the bottom so he could slide right over you like leapfrog, he absolutely will, because you do not mean anything to him. Now, I'm not saying this is the case for this woman. Like, maybe her husband or whoever she's cooking and cleaning for just absolutely adores the piss out of her. Quite possible, quite likely. But again, do not go into that situation and thinking that feminism has nothing to do with you.
Don't tell the feminists, but I would rather stay home and cook and clean.
Most evil opinion, like my most hateful opinion, is that when women like these get burned by men who they ride for, who they say these very anti-feminist things for, we should all get to point and laugh for 60 seconds. Only 60 seconds, and then we jump in, give them resources, blah, 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 blah. But we should get to say one quick, I told you so. Maybe not so quick, 60 seconds, like I said. It's insane the regression that's happening and how now it's so popular, so in to be like, I'm not a feminist, sorry feminist. When that burns you, who's supposed to pull you up? It might be a shitty thing to say, and it is a shitty thing to believe, but there's a reason why feminism exists. There's a reason why you should make your own money. There's a reason why you should have your own resources, because you can never really truly trust anyone but you. But you know, it's because we hate cooking and we hate cleaning. That's why we do it.
This trend has already been done. You're not creating anything new. And one thing I've noticed is that a lot of these women pushing this lifestyle are in their 20s. So, ladies, you have a long way to go. You have a lot of growth to do. At present, it may seem like fun. A few years down the line, you will be analyzing your decisions. And look, while women are by no means a monolith, history, on the other hand, does have the nagging tendency of repeating itself. And when generations of women have been through something detrimental and they try to warn you about it, and all you can say is, they're just jealous. Honey, sweetie, good luck to you. Listen, you're not the first and certainly not the last woman to think you know it all. There have been a lot of women who thought they knew it all. But guess what? They fucked around and found out. I just hope that you won't have to wear pounds of makeup to cover up some bruises. Or even worse, find yourself 6 feet under because you forgot to properly season your casserole. But hey, if you like it, I love it. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be taken care of. I think that most women do prefer that, whether they have their own money or not. There's something sexy about a man who takes care of his wife and his household and doesn't allow things to fall by the wayside. With that said, it shouldn't matter how lavish your lifestyle is. As a woman, you need your own money for a rainy day. How you do that is up to you. If he's generous enough, talk to him about an allowance. Or you can turn your hidden talents, right? Your hobbies into something that will generate you income. Listen, life happens. What happens when your main source of income is taken away? Sickness, death, divorce happen to people every day. Are you prepared for that? If your husband left you, which happens all the time in today's climate, can you stand on your own without his financial support? These are things that women need to think about. And no, these conversations aren't sexy. They're not meant to be. But neither is struggle and homelessness. Because let me tell you, financial abuse is a real thing. Let's take a listen to the following.
I'm here to tell you why that whole TRADWIFE trend is absolute bullcrap. I just got off the phone with a friend of mine who has been married for about 15 years now. Before she got married, she got a master's degree in education and a law degree. She met her husband in law school. He wanted a traditional wife. She did not take the bar, and instead they got married. He took the bar. He passed the bar. He became a lawyer, and she became a full-time housewife and later a mom. Times 5. They have 5 children. Okay, fast forward 15 years, where he has been cheating on her for years. She finally caught him red-handed. She has enough confidence and determination to say, I want a divorce, I'm done. He's walking away with a $300,000+ job that he got, by the way, from one of her mom friends in a mom group. Let's just put that aside. She has nothing. She has 2 advanced degrees, 0 experience. So are they even worthwhile? Are they even worth anything? She has nothing to show for it. And in the last 15 years, what has changed in law and in education? Probably quite a bit. So she is stuck at this crossroads of feeling like she has nothing. And before you say alimony, he is trying to screw her out of everything he possibly can. She cannot keep the house, even though she has primary custody of the children. She can't afford it. She has no job. Absolutely no job right now. And even if she did, there are 5 children. So between drop-offs and pickups at 4 different schools, she has about 3 hours in the daytime when she is not tending to children. So to any woman who is considering that the TRADWIFE lifestyle might be it for you, I encourage you to think about this story. Remember it. And just remember that you as a woman need to have something for yourself. If anything, just for yourself, because you absolutely never know what can happen in life, whether it be divorce, whether it be cheating, whether it be the passing away of your spouse. You have to take care of yourself and put yourself first. You can still love and support your husband and be an incredible wife who takes care of your man, but take care of yourself first.
And to those of you who are so insistent upon muling for males, wasting your time, and preparing a man's house for the next woman, listen to the following.
So I saw this post that says what it feels like to have your boyfriend of 8 years buy a house and then charge you rent to live in it while making you both design director and general contractor of the renovation. My only question for you is, what's in it for you? I see where he benefits. He gets somebody to split the mortgage with him without having to be on that mortgage, but he also gets free help. He gets free labor. In addition to the cooking and cleaning that you're probably already doing for him, you're also scrubbing the baseboards and the floors, you're painting, you're organizing, you're designing, you're building, all of that. All of that for what? In exchange for what? Now, she goes on to say in a follow-up video, they've been together for 8 years, but they got together really young. She was only 20. Okay, well, that makes you 28 now. Okay, 20 might have been too young to get married. Okay, what's wrong with 28? This is literally what it looks like to be a Barbara the Builder, where you are in here helping a man get himself established, get himself on his feet, but there's no guarantee that you'll be reaping any of those benefits. Your boyfriend has literally become your landlord. Like, what happens when you're late with the rent? I feel like all too often we do these things to prove to a man what kind of wife we'll be, but that doesn't mean that man will necessarily see a wife in you.
So her boyfriend of 8 years bought a house. Boyfriend of 8 years is crazy. You're not getting an 8-year relationship out of me, but that's neither here nor there. He bought the house, moved her in, charges her rent because why wouldn't he? I mean, they only do what you allow. Charges her rent. Her name is on any of the paperwork to do with the home at all. She has no investment in it. Charging her rent, and she's helping him renovate. The way you could not torture that information out of me. Like, I would lie about that if somebody asked, let alone tell people that willingly. Of course, the ladies in the comments were like, girl, he hates you. He hates you. No ring, no investment from the house, and free labor, what are you doing? She responds with a follow-up video, and she says, well, at least my rent is subsidized. Like, it's not as expensive as other homes, other apartments or whatever in the area. That's not your landlord. That's your boyfriend of almost a decade. What are you talking about? This is why sometimes it's good to have the judgmental friend, because she would tell you, girl, are you stupid? No, that's not a good idea. Like, I believe a little bit of judgmental friends is what some of y'all need. And I love the girls. I do. I love the girls. But sometimes our decisions just need to be studied.
So he charges her rent. She gets to refurbish his house. She probably cooks and cleans while giving him free sex. And she's okay with that? Okay. If she likes it, I love it. To everyone else, ladies, please get off the relationship plantation. Don't be a slave to male manipulation. On that note, what are your thoughts on what's been discussed here today? Please leave your thoughts and comments down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And remember, ladies, we've come a long way as women for us to just regress for the sake of a man's comfort. If you choose to embark on a relationship, give yourself goals and deadlines in which your needs must be met. Time is precious, and it waits for no one. If you choose to be Barbara the Builder, you can't be mad when Bob uses all of your energy and invests your hard work into another woman. You are responsible for yourself. Treat yourself with the love, care, and respect you deserve. Thank you so much for watching. This is the Diamond Chrysalis. You've been watching Divestment with Purpose. Divest like a butterfly, and I'll see you next time. Bye, diamonds.